What's happening, people? I'm DJ Grace. Today I'm going to show you how to make a jazzy jungle tune like this.
You like jazz, Evan?
Yeah.
Let me play something for you.
Here is today's sample. So we want the 4 bars, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we want it to end about here. So if I turn on warping, let me just grab this last warp marker and move that to where it was about 4 bars, which was about there. And shorten this clip down. And with that metronome on, and Command and L to loop it, let's have a listen. Sounding good. And the next thing I'm going to do is right click here and click Convert Harmony to New MIDI Track. What I like to do is choose an instrument that you think is going to sound good with these chords. I like to use a Rhodes within Contact called Scarby Mark 1. So, you know, it's got potential, but some of the notes are incorrect. Alright, so now that we've got our chords in place, it's time to add some drums, and I was just having a listen to some drum breaks here, and the ones that sounded good to me were the blaze break and the back break. So having a listen to these two together, if I just drag those in. Also, I think that the tempo I've set of 170 is perhaps a little bit too quick, and what I'm going to do is just drop that down to 163. Sometimes it's good to create a bit of a cross rhythm, and the way I like to make that happen is to just make a normal drum and bass pattern and then layer it with these very energetic breaks, and the two of them going together makes a kind of you get the snare of one and then you get the snare of the other, so it goes do da 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 ga ga, you know what I mean? So I'm going to go with snare 5, and obviously, like always, that needs to be turned down quite a bit. So here I might make it go cat cat, double snare, you know. And then here on the next one it could go did. Just gonna copy that, paste it, so it goes, you know. Alright, so it's all about experimentation. You just gotta try stuff. If it doesn't work, undo or delete, try something else. If it does work, then you've just created something new and you can feel good. Maybe I'll delete that one. Maybe I'll delete this one here, and then you've got did. Alright, and what I'm going to do with this back break is I'm going to go in and EQ it and try and make it sound slightly less annoying. Alright, now I want some more shuffle bits in there. And in that Jekyll and Hyde sample pack, there's these percussion bits that are really useful. Let me show you. Like this, 3 and 4. The first part of this perk 3, the is amazing. And someone told me in the last video, you've got to press Command and 1, Command and 2 to change the grid size. Well, you know what? I did that yesterday and accidentally put it onto triplets mode, and I was really confused of what was going on. So I need to figure that out and make sure that doesn't happen again. Anyway, I just want the with the first one. I'm just going to use the first hat of it like that. So what you really want to do with this kind of atmospheric jungle or jazzy jungle is essentially you want to create something that's like very busy and sounding kind of chaotic, but at the same time it's not chaotic, it's quite controlled. Because if you have these hits all over the place just going wild and they're out of time with each other, well, it's not going to sound clean, and it's going to be quite difficult to make it loud as well because they'll be all eating up the headroom, you know. While we're here, I might as well just make the crash and show you how I do that. So I have these packs, and one of them is Session Drums Multi-Mic. And the way how I usually get crashes and stuff like that is just to get them from these drum kits. So just bring in a drum kit. Now it says Crash Brush, but I think it sounds pretty good. So what I do is I just drag a certain area, like 1 bar, hold down Command, Shift and M, and that creates a MIDI clip. Now we wanted Crash Brush. Turn on this little headphone symbol, and then you'll be able to hear when you click these samples. So Crash Brush 16, Crash Brush 18. So what we're going to do now is freeze the track. So right click on the name of the track here, freeze it, and then you can either flatten it or you can just press Command and T to create a new audio track, highlight the frozen clip here and bring it down and hold down Alt or Option and let go. And you can do the same with the tail if you want. Drag it down while holding down the Alt key, let go, and now you should hear it with its tail. You can just press this button here with the 2 arrows, and that's the reverse button. And now you've got a reverse crash, but you've still got your normal crash above it. So here's how that sounds. Alright, normal crash, and then... So let's hear how that reverse crash fits in with the rest of these drums. And here's a tip: if you want to change the volume of 2 things at the same time and by the same amount, click the channel on this mixer view. Just click the channel, hold down Shift, click the other channel. Now you've selected them both together, and whatever you do, it affects both channels. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to do the grouping. So I like to put my elements into 4 separate groups if it's a vocal track, 3 groups if it's an instrumental track. Those groups are drums, bass, and instrum, which stands for instrumental. These are all drums. So click the first one, hold down Shift and click the last one, and then you can press Command and G, and that puts them into a group. Now hold down Command and press R. So you've got Command and R, that's for rename. So that's drums. Now whenever I'm doing a group name, I do it in capital letters. And whenever I'm doing a normal track name, I do it in lowercase. So as you can see, these 2 elements here, we've got the Rhodes chords and the original guitar chords. So they are both instruments. So Command and G to make the group, Command and R to rename it, and I'm going to type instrum in capital letters. And while we're here, I'll call this guitar chords, and I'll call this Rhodes. Alright, so here's the loop, how it's sounding so far. The next thing we need is a bass line, and I've decided that I'm going to be playing the bass line myself with my bass guitar. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight what we've got so far, copy it, and I'm going to paste it a lot of times. So it's just looping over and over again. I'm going to give myself about 3 minutes. So I'm just going to create an audio track. So let me grab my bass guitar and record this bass line. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. After recording the bass line, I went to save this, and it crashed, and the bass line disappeared. We've also lost the reverse crash. Unfortunately, that's gone too. But anyway, it's alright. I'm just going to quickly remake the reverse crash, re-record the bass line, and then we'll carry on. Alright, so we're back, and I have recreated the reverse crash that disappeared, and I've played the bass line again, and I've chosen a little loop of the bass line, which I think was the bit that I played well. Here's how it sounded. Now, I like this, but there is something about it that I don't like, and there's this one resonant frequency that's sort of sounding like ooh. And basically I'm going to get rid of that frequency. So here I've got an EQ8, and I'm just pressing this arrow up button that expands the EQ so it's sort of full screen. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these bell curves and boost it up and try and really boost that disgusting frequency. And then when I find it, I'm going to narrow in on it with the Q, find it, fine-tune it, and then drop it out. So, let's find it. So I think it's there. So if I drop that out, just by bringing this gain right down. Now whenever you do a cut like this, it's always advisable to turn on and off the EQ and see if it actually sounds better with what you've done. So here's the off. And with. Now, in my opinion, that has completely sorted out that disgusting frequency. So now I'm going to save this, and I'm going to make sure it doesn't crash. Let's cross our fingers. So I'm going to call this the Jazz Chords tutorial. And if it asks me if I want to delete anything or leave it in place, leave it in place, you bastard. Alright, what I'm going to do next is bring in an 808. So we got the simpler. I'm going to be using the 808 that's called the Super Dope. So here it is. One thing I like to do is sometimes I just write the bass line in a higher octave. In fact, 2 octaves up from where it's actually going to be. So there's the E. What I was saying before is that, you know, I've written it up here just so that I can hear it really well. I can hear it's playing the right notes and everything's fine. And then you can just hold shift and press down twice. Now the next thing I'm going to do is add the saturator. And when I add the saturator, we will be able to hear the notes slightly better anyway. One thing I like to do is to create a pad by just time stretching some of the existing roads. So what I'm going to do is I'll just drag this roads channel down here and hold Alt. So now we've got a copy of it. And then I'm going to right click on the channel and freeze the track. Right click again and flatten the track. Now it's turned it into audio, as you can see. And what I'm going to do is just grab the end of it and hold down shift and just drag sideways so that the first note is 4 bars long. Let's hear how that sounds now. I don't know if you've seen the movie Bruce Almighty, but I got a little sample from that movie last night, and let me drag it into the project and show you the sample I'm talking about.
See, you just got to remember that the newsroom is like a big cookie.
You like jazz, Evan?
Yeah.
Let me play something for you.
All right, so it's just the bit where he's saying, "Do you like jazz, Evan? Let me play something for you," and then it's going to be the drop. All right, so unfortunately, I won't be sampling his little trumpet impression, but perhaps this is going to sound good before the drop. So let me just position it there, and then I will just trim it so it's just the exact part that I want. Let's grab some reverb and delay. The one thing you can do is automate the on-off switch. So for example, if I just press A, actually first I need to turn off the computer keyboard. Alright, press A, that takes you into automation mode. Now, you just touch a control and it will bring up the red line for that control on the automation. So then you can just grab the pen. So if you wanted to, you could have this delay turned off for the first bit.
You like jazz, Evan?
Yeah.
Let me play.
And then when he says, "Let me play something for you," you turn on the delay unit.
You like jazz, Evan?
Yeah.
Let me play something for you.
Alright, now it's time for me to create the intro. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to do this as a time lapse and do a bit of an arrangement, and you can watch it in fast forward and then we'll talk about it after.
You like jazz, Evan?
Yeah.
Let me play something for you.
Alright, we're back. So I've just been working on the tune for about an hour, and as you can see, it's looking a lot more arranged now. So I'm just going to go through the different parts and let you know what I've done, what I've added, and what I've taken away. So starting off with the beginning, we've got the blaze break, and it's sounding like this. So as you can see, I've added glue compressor, EQ8 to get rid of the low end. Since it's the intro, we don't really want any sub bass, so that'll give it more impact when it finally drops. I've got the saturator to dirty it up a bit. There's this auto filter which is automated, so the frequency is ramping up and cutting out more and more of those lows as we head towards this second part of the intro. we've got the Rhodes, the piano, and this crowd sound. So you may have seen, I was Googling something during that time lapse, and basically I Googled a crowd sample. I wanted it to sound like, you know, just people talking in a bar. So I don't know if you can hear this, but this is what I've got. And it's very quiet in the mix, but as you can see, I've added a utility and I've automated the gain to slightly turn it up when it gets to the second 16 of the intro, and then towards the end with the vocal sample it fades out. So here are the two instruments that you can hear during this section. The Rhodes and the piano, which are playing the exact same chords, and all together it sounds like this. And then we've got the reverse crash and going into the next 16. So this is when I finally introduced that iconic jazzy guitar sound, and the crowd is a bit louder, so it gives you the sort of feeling that somebody's playing jazz in a bar and everyone's talking in the background.
Jazz, Evan? Yeah. Let me play something for you.
So that's about it. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video. I hope you've learned something. If you did, make sure you click that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.